Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode of the vlogs. We've made it to Saturday, we've made it into the weekend, and what a lovely day we have today. As you can tell from the title, we're talking about the GB Olympic trials that are going on. In fact, right now we had the time trials yesterday and today we have some side-by-side racing. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be there, so I can't sort of film it and take you through the process itself, but I'm going to be talking about the results in case you haven't seen them, and just how the actual trials process works itself, in case you either wanted to do the trials process for GB or you're just curious to see. But before that happens, there's one thing that I need to do and two things that I would love you to do watching today. Number one, if you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. Number two, if you're already subscribed, if you could hit that like button, that would be fantastic. Both of those things combined tell YouTube to push the Yam Squad worldwide, baby! And the third thing that I need to do today, or I'm going to be doing today, we're going to get on the water on this beautiful morning as the moon again pokes out from behind the clouds. But hopefully the wind is down, and we have some flat water to go play in this morning to keep honing in on the sculling technique. A big thing that I'm still focusing on is getting the hands doing the right thing. So it's quite difficult for me at the moment to square and feather at the right times, but we are getting there. So let's get to the boat club and get on the water. Oh, yeah.
And we've made it off the water, or almost off the water. Now, as always, it's time to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel. And then we're going to discuss the trials results. Oh, yeah!
And we've made it back into the house post fueling up, or post rowing, fueled up already, and now we're in between the finals of the Olympic trials. So first we're going to do, talking about the Olympic trials this year, the 2020 Olympic British Rowing Trials, just go over the process itself and then we'll talk about the results. So we have the results for the time trial and the semi-final, and then the results will be coming out later, which we'll have a chat about later on when they do come out, about the finals. So the trials process for British rowing pretty much goes through the entire season. Goes through winter, goes through autumn, winter, and then ends early spring, and even then there's still some testing in the summer to do as well. So if you wanted to do trials for British rowing, there's a first trial in November, which is a 5k time trial on the water, and then a 2k time trial on the rowing machine. And so a time trial on the water is basically just one by one, boat by boat, and you get time from start to finish, and then you get a ranking. Generally, the boats that you do all of these trials in are the boats that you want to be racing in, kind of thing. So if you want to be racing in a sculling boat, you test in a sculling boat, that's 2 oars. And then if you want to be testing or racing in a sweep boat, that's 1 oar, you test or trial in a pair. So there's only singles and pairs for the whole of British rowing. It used to be that you always had to do a single but now it's changed a little bit as the years have went past, and you can kind of separate the two out. So you've done November trials now. You've passed through November trials, and then you have the invite-only December trials. So the previous trials, November, are open assessment. You go ahead, go to the trial and see how you do, and from that assessment, you get the opportunity to be invited, if you've done well enough, to the December trials. The December trials themselves are a little bit different, and so it can actually kind of vary depending on the time of year or depending on what's been going on around. Sometimes the weather changes it, sometimes the amount of boats and just times and all that can change the format of the racing, but generally it is a 2k spin 2k time trial format kind of thing. Again, in the same boats, if you're sweeping, then you trial the pair. If you're sculling, you trial in the single. But it's a whole different ball game. Rather than the 5k time trial, 2k erg, there's no ergs in the December trial, all on water, and it's 2k spin 2k. And if you remember, if you've watched through the last few months, we did that trial, and it's just it's something you really have to practice and learn about, that whole sort of strategy of doing that race. But that's a whole nother video, maybe next year if we're doing the December trials, to talk about. So we've now done November trials and December trials, and then there's another assessment in February. It's a 5k time trial. So no erg in this one. This one's all on water again. Same as the time trial in November, but this time, instead of being an open assessment, it's still more open than December, but this time you need a time cut-off for the 5k on the rowing machine. Now, this year is a little bit different. Since it's Olympic year, there's trials happening this weekend, the Olympic trials, where people are looking to be selected for the Olympic team coming up later this year. But usually the last final trials are later on, roughly April, depending on the sort of times of year. But this year, essentially, there's two final trials. This one, this weekend, the Olympic trials, and then the one later on, roughly in April, is for the people that aren't aiming for Olympics, but still aiming for, say, under 23s, or the University World Championships, or juniors, or different things like that. But the format of both trials are the same, the later trials. So today and yesterday, it was supposed to be Saturday, Sunday trials, but the weather's supposed to be a bit rubbish tomorrow. So the days were pushed back or pushed forward, and there was a time trial yesterday evening, and today there's two races, two side-by-side races, 6 boats across. And the first one is a time trial for just shy of 2k, about 1900 meters-ish, but it's straight down the course at Caversham at the GB Rowing Training Centre. Straight down the course, one by one, you get a time, and then you see how you compare, and then from those times you get sorted into semi-finals, and then from the semi-finals you get sorted into A and B finals. So now, after this morning's session, after this morning's semi-final, we can now see where athletes are placing themselves for the finals coming up this evening. Now we're going to look at the results from the time trial and the results of the semi-final and see what kind of the interesting things that can happen in sort of whether it's time trials, whether it's side-by-side racing or different things. So let's go into the results of the time trials. I have them on my phone and I'll put them on the screen now. Okay, so that's you kind of seen the results. These are all on the line, all public anyway, and you can see I'm not really going to go for names and say, oh, this person does this speed or this person does that and this person, but you can kind of see what I'm trying to say, sort of compare is the time trial results to the semi-final results, because really, so there's 12 people in this, and this is, I'm going to do it in my category. Obviously there's other people racing. There's the men's single, women's pairs, as well as the men's pairs here. So yes, this is really just looking at the men's pairs, but it's more because I'm in that category and I know more about that, so I'm going to stick to that because I don't want to sort of say something that I'm don't necessarily know about. So in the men's pairs, there's 12 pairs. And like I said about the semi-final and the final, there's the semi-final is to look at you getting into the final, into the A or B finals. So here are the semi-final results. And as you can see, there were some changes in the results themselves. Obviously, there's differences in the sort of semi-finals themselves. It's no longer everyone in one race. It's half of the six in one, six in the other. But some people that did very well in the time trial didn't do as well as you might think in the semi-final. And then same thing with people not necessarily doing as well in the time trial did much better in the semi-finals. And so there's a couple of things on that I've always kind of struggled with. With time trials, it's very, very different to side-by-side racing. And same thing back and forward. Side-by-side racing is hugely different to time trial racing. So I find it quite good that the time trial doesn't necessarily count towards the positioning of the semi-final, or at least the finals at the end of the regatta, or the end of the Olympic trials. But at the same time, it is, so some of the people racing in the time trial are going to go flat out, and some people aren't necessarily going to go flat out. So is that a little bit of an advantage to the people that aren't going flat out? Or I don't know. Hopefully it makes sense what I'm kind of saying. It's an interesting one, and strategy definitely comes into it with the multiple races through the weekend. And I definitely think it's a case of racing to your strengths and seeing, okay, well, I want to make a target. Say I want to be in the A final. Well, that means I have to come top 3 of the A and B semi-finals to get into the A final. So when you're side by side, you can say, okay, you can see who is ahead or behind you. You know exactly what position you're in. So you can call to if in this case, your pair partner, say, well, we are one place down on third place, and we've got half a length, and we need to go now to make sure we end up getting into the A final. Or maybe, this is all sort of racing type stuff, maybe you're really far ahead and you can actually just ease off the gas slightly, because you know that if you come first, second, or third, you'll be in the A final, which is the target that you want, and you could actually use some, or not use as much gas, so you can just be that little bit fresher in the A final. So it'll be really interesting to see the results of the A and B finals later on today, and hopefully sort of the explanation of trials makes sense. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other questions. It's definitely a stressful time for the athletes doing the trials, especially with not just the Olympics coming up so quickly this year, but also, will they actually happen at all? With all the uncertainty going sort of around the world at the moment, it's an interesting one, because like I said earlier, or like I said yesterday, I wanted to be there. I spoke to the media people. They said I was able to go vlog the experience like I did a couple of years ago, but they made the decision on Wednesday, Thursday, that they weren't allowing sort of many external people in, and that meant I was not allowed in, so that they could limit the infection possibility to the athletes, which makes complete sense. So now what we're going to do is wait a little bit of time. To you guys, it'll be a few seconds, and then we'll get into the finals results. So let's wait for those. Oh yeah! And we have made it, still in the same place again. So it's later on, been a few seconds for you, been a few hours for me, just waiting on the results of the British Rowing Final Trials A and B Finals. So here are the results of the A and B Finals. And as you can see, some different results. And so congratulations to Matt Rossiter and Rory Gibbs winning the Olympic trials this year. And it's awesome to see all of these guys that I know all of them. And so it's really cool to see them all race each other. Well, unfortunately not there to see them all racing, but really exciting to see the guys get the results that they got. And so it'll be really interesting to see, like, since I'm not there to know what the selection is like, so it'll be really interesting to see what boats these guys end up in the summer, assuming that the summer racing goes forward, because like I said previously, the World Cup 1 and 2 have been cancelled, so we'll see what's going on past that. But again, awesome congratulations to the guys this weekend. It's a really, really tough process. The time trial last night with a late one, and then this morning, and then another race today. So 3 pretty much, or at the very least 3 close to being very flat out races, especially that last race. That last race is going to be a real hard race, especially against the guys that you know really well. And it'll be really interesting to see, like I said, what boats come of the trials process. Kind of like the pair hasn't qualified, so will there be a top pair and then go from there? The 8 and the 4 have qualified, so who will be in those boats from the trials? And so we will soon find out. But that's for future Yam Squad to look forward to. Hopefully, going forward, we'll be able to talk to some of the guys who are going through towards the Olympics, as now the boats will start to be sort of solidified, and it'll be really, again, exciting to follow them. And again, I hopefully can take the Yam Squad along for the journey too. But that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. And if you've made it this far, I haven't mentioned it yet, the World Erg Challenge, there's a Yam Squad team that I have started, and a lot of people have actually joined so far, because I put it on my Instagram the other day. I'll be mentioning it over the next few days. It starts tomorrow, but you can kind of join the team when you can, and it's basically how many meters you can do in a month. So last year, I think the winner was around 20 million meters, and so why not try and go for that this year with the Yam Squad and see. So there's around 100 members of the team already, and so if we can get 150, that would be absolutely outrageous, and see if we can make the Yam Squad the most metersome team in the entire world. But like I said, that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you have enjoyed it, and as always, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will see you next week for another week of training and another week of vlogs. Oh yeah!